Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I wanted to talk about like this adrenaline software again. Like I know that I've done this a few times. Let me go ahead. We were doing an Xbox thing the other day, so I want to talk about this adrenaline software. Kind of go over some of the stuff that I've learned in the last what's it been like 100 freaking days since I switched from Nvidia. So I mean, yeah, so right here, this right here is the home. This is like the global experience, kind of. You can see the games that you've played recently. Um, Mostly everything is going to be on there. Like I've been through here. I've been testing a bunch of these games. I've been testing Assassin's Creed, this heavy duty challenge, some Star Wars, some Horizon, Marvel Spider-Man. Witcher 3, Ghost Recon, Call of Duty, TT Isle of Man, Assassin's Creed, some more. I was just playing a bunch of Assassin's Creed Mirage using the AMD's Fidelity or AMD's fluid motion frames. Man, once you get into these games, like these single player games, and if you're playing on a controller, it's such a cool experience to be able to get that extra smoothness from the screen and have the frame rate just feel like it's so high that like you're in. Oh gosh, it's such a cool feeling. Some Immortals of Avium, Spider-Man Remastered, Cyberpunk 2077, Hogwarts freaking Legacy, Forspoken, obviously. Some Assetto Corsa Competizione. Basically all my Assassin's Creed games, some Last of Us, Overpass 2, Gotham Knights, Remnant 2, that one there is really smooth with AMD's fluid motion frames. And if you look under here, you can kind of see the average frame rate that you'll get. So the average frame rate that I was getting was about 149 with Ratchet and Clank, 156 with Remnant 2, 141 with Gotham Knights. Basically double. This one right here is not accurately reporting the frames because there's my average frame at 4K on Assassin's Creed Origins, but with the with AMD's fluid motion frames, it doubles that, so it's like 140-ish or whatever. Overpass, same with this one. It was this one here was done at 4K with ray tracing and all of that, and it bumped me up to about 107 frames a second at 4K. So I was like, wow, that's pretty good. This one right here is running Unreal Engine 5, so it is a little bit heavier in terms of like all of the settings. Uh, Last of Us Part 1, I do not think I enabled it actually on this one. I turned this one on. I only ran it for like 5 minutes or something. I was just looking. I was looking at something. That was when I was first starting to learn how to use the AMD's fluid motion frames. Because what happened is when FSR3 launched, I had spent the majority of the time that weekend on Forspoken and Immortals of Avium, like really checking out like the native support for fluid motion frames, for frame generation, because I wanted to see for myself how this was going to impact the gaming experience as a whole. So I did play around with it, and I'm going to tell you right now, like, I don't necessarily think that like frame generation is the future, but I do kind of feel like you could see that I've tested a bunch of different games, mainly open world games, and that's where I think that that games, are gonna struggle the most. There's gonna be other things, because open world games are gonna have a lot of NPCs, so you're gonna have pretty decent CPU utilization. You're gonna have big open spaces. You're going to have lots of streaming textures, lots of streaming environments, stuff like that. So I feel that open world games are something that could potentially really benefit from the fluid motion frames or frame generation. I don't necessarily think it's good. Like I said, I was testing it out on Call of Duty. Way of the Hunter. Way of the Hunter got me up to 157 frames at 4K. Pretty much definitely a much more stable experience with fluid motion frames, because as you know, Way of the Hunter is still kind of a little bit off on the PC space, but this here does significantly boost that overall experience for this particular game. Actually fairly well. And if I kick that down to 1440p, that would even be higher. That would be a lot higher. Starfield, I did test this on Starfield, but I didn't sit there long enough I wanted to test a lot of other games. I do plan on playing some more Starfield on this. It did definitely help. It does smooth it out a little bit, but to the point where I was like, I don't know. Control, control, you definitely see like a really nice uptick, but this right here is my average frame at like 1440p, I believe. This was like 1440p with all the ray tracing and stuff. Some of these games I went back through and I was just playing around with it on 1440p. Like there's a good amount of these ones, like you'll see them in a second. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, this one right here, for some reason it didn't report the thing right. Like it was telling me I got 14.6 frames. That's completely wrong. Heavy Duty Challenge didn't even tell me. Same thing with Jedi Survivor right here, Star Wars Jedi. For some reason, that one wasn't reporting it right either, but that one there saw a significant uptick in overall performance for that game, and a lot smoother experience too. Because if you know, this game too is actually pretty heavy, pretty broken on basically everything still. So the fluid motion frames does help that, and it does significantly boost your overall experience. But then when you get over here to Horizon Zero Dawn, at 1440p, I was able to get this thing as high as 431 frames a second. So just over 200 frames regular. Felt absolutely incredible, but I bumped this baby up to 6K, and I can still get up to 120 frames a second on that. That's pretty cool. Like if you wanted to like really play like some of these older DX11 games at way higher frame rates, that will help, but there is kind of a cutoff. Now I say 60 FPS is like the bare minimum that's gonna make it a playable experience when you're running a straight line. But when you're panning the camera, you are going to see not massive judder, but enough judder to where it's noticeable. Like there's no not seeing it. Once that comes up, you're like, oh dang. But once you start getting 70, 80, 90, 100 frames, that judder gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. I'm going to be posting a video today of Assassin's Creed Mirage. I played about an hour and a half of this game using fluid motion frames the whole time. And then I also did upload last night the first ancient Order of the Ancient Al Ghul that I was able to get in, infiltrate, and take him out. I uploaded that whole video file using AMD's fluid motion frames at 4K. So that one there turned out to be really good. Definitely could barely even notice that I was using it. Once you flip it on and you get in there for a minute, boom, it just completely clears that up. So I will have that whole video. It's about an hour and a half, all 4K footage that I'll be uploading so that you guys can see fluid motion frames in action at 4K. So I think that's pretty good. It's just going to take me a lot of hours to upload. That's like, dude, that's a lot of freaking gigs. Spider-Man, doubling the frame rate of 4K, going up to 132 frames a second, and that one there actually filling. That one there's pretty much always felt good on this card. You know, it feels pretty good. So you do notice the smoothness and the overall the screen performance. And then you've also got, you know, like The Witcher 3 getting up to 144 1440p with all the ray tracing and all of that enabled. That one there is a little bit wonky because of the fact that like you are still, you know, closer to 60, so you're still getting a little bit of that judder, but it is 100% still playable, and it provides a fairly decent image quality, especially with the ray tracing over on the AMD stack. Anything that you can get to kind of to smooth that out even more, I think that's a plus, especially for like single player games. As long as you're on a controller and as long as the latency kind of feels good for you, I definitely think that is 100% playable. And yeah, I mean, like we can be as picky as we want, but dude, this is like free software. It's like a free upgrade. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. See how it says only 119 frames right here? So this one here was essentially just like Horizon at 400 frames a second or whatever. Don't know why that didn't show up right here in this thing right here, but dude, this was absolutely incredible how Ghost Recon looked at super high frame rates. Very, very smooth. I uploaded a video of that one already. These are just some of the games that I was testing out. Now 114, yeah. See, Call of Duty didn't even record the frames because there's my average at 4K. It was well over double that. Well over double that. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Call of Duty. Let's talk about how that actually felt. I got in there. I did actually. You know what? I think I just did like a story mission. I did like a story mission on there. And to tell you the truth, it's about like Cyberpunk. It's about like the Cyberpunk experience, but you're already coming from such a higher frame rate, so it already feels so it definitely feels a little bit better. But at the same time, like it's still not going to match up with the overall like perceived frame rate. So I'm still kind of on the fence about first person shooters when it comes to when it comes to AMF or AFMF. It's still one of those things where I'm still testing to see if this is something that I could actually feel like utilizing with fluid motion frames. Racing games, TT Isle of Man. Now this one here is interesting because this one here already nets me like 123 frames a second. When I turn on fluid motion frames, it automatically doubles that. And it does feel like it just smooths everything out even more, but it was already smooth in the first place. So it does, like, I don't necessarily think it was necessary for this particular game because I was playing this on the 4K OLED. So I will touch on that here in just a second too, the whole 4K versus the 1440p monitor. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, look at this, 375 frames a second. This game absolutely feels and looks incredible. I did upload a video for that one already. Absolutely looks and feels incredible using AMD's fluid motion frames. Absolutely incredible. WRC 10, pretty much the exact same kind of experience that I was getting with Isle of Man 3. Definitely just smooths it out. It potentially could be used for racing games. Depending on, because I'm using cockpit cam or hood cam, so you could definitely use fluid motion frames for that to get the fluidity of visual quality, but not into the latency and stuff like that. I don't really think it was affecting the latency too much. I was playing around with these. I was using a controller for both of these when I was testing it out, so that there should usually let you know, like, oh yeah, and it did kind of impact the overall experience to the point where like it did feel smooth and I felt like I had enough reaction time, stuff like that. So I don't feel like latency was too messed up because I was still able to control my bike and my car while using fluid motion frames and still having pristine image quality because you're not panning the camera a whole bunch. The camera's just going. So essentially it's fluid motion frames, so it was definitely helping with that experience in racing, but I don't know to what extent. Microsoft Flight Simulator, same thing, man. Absolutely smooths this game out. Very, very smooth. This here's my average frame rate without it. I don't know. Some of these I don't understand why it's not, giving me like the frames that I'm getting without it. But yeah, when I'm looking at the frame counter, it's that's why. I know why. This game right here, this one, I wasn't using the I was using the what's it called? I was trying to use Afterburner for those. That's why. I think that's why. Obviously, Immortals of Avium is doubling my frame rate, giving me a 129 when I was getting like 70 or whatever. And then Spider-Man, this is the same as the other Spider-Man. So I want to go into like one of these games. If you click on these, then you can get into here, and then you can tune your game performance, or you can just sit here. Like this is kind of like the if you go into like global experience or whatever, the global experience, you can just hit like your Hyper RX. Hyper RX is going to enable like most of this stuff. So you hit Hyper RX, and that'll turn all that on. As long as you download the preview driver, you'll be able to utilize all of this stuff. It actually added this tab too, the smart technology that wasn't there before. You get the noise suppression, you get the AMD privacy view, one-click overclock. You can just hit that and be like, boom. You can take it from default tuning, and you can literally just hit one button and it'll overclock all of that. Smart access video. So this right here, I still haven't really played around with a whole lot of this yet, but I noticed immediately when I downloaded this driver and I was getting into to my Cyberlink. Let me pull this up for you. When I was getting into my Cyberlink Power Director, and I was trying to I was trying to like upload a video or not upload a video, but create a video. This thing here made it so I was able to get in there and do. Why want to? Let me like make this one here smaller real quick. Wait, why is it over there? Come on, not that one. I want this one up on the screen. I wonder if it's on this. I wonder if it's on my OLED. I think that's on my OLED. Let me see. Oh, that was on the TV. And that was on my TV. Sorry, guys. Wait, what the heck? Why isn't that thing coming up?
Inputs. TV inputs. HDMI 3. HDMI 4. Connected. HDMI 4.
Oh, I see. I don't know why that thing is not coming up, but oh, I see what's going on. It was up. It was up. It was just on the other screen. It was just over here. So let me go ahead and get the. Okay, so I noticed immediately, like when I put on. I'm going to show you guys this right now. I'll just go to like one of my recent recordings. So this here's the video I was talking about. That's going to be like an hour or whatever. I noticed immediately that I could like go to different spots in my video, and it was a lot quicker to like load this stuff up than it was before. Like sometimes I'd have to wait for it to like start rendering or whatever, but now it just automatically is rendering it significantly faster. This is 4K video. That's what I'm saying. Like normally it would, so like you'll get the rendering over here, like it will still render out the image, but like I can play these clips and I can play them for significantly longer than I was, able. And that was the same way over on the NVIDIA graphics card too. But this right here, it just, I noticed immediately that like this here was that this was fixing that up. So actually, I don't need to like edit this one. I'm just going to upload that full clip for you guys so that you guys can see that. So yeah, this smart technology, because like the concurrent access to multiple video codec accelerators and codecs. So this right here and codec throughput, I think that right there actually kind of helped with the Cyberpunk performance. So if we get into performance, you can see like here's all the stuff that you can get in here, and you can click on. You can tuning settings. You can adjust all of this stuff. You can have graphs, whatever. You go in here like to tracking. You just come over here like to your FPS. You can just turn all this stuff on. And then when you go to your overlay, you can just flip your overlay on, and it'll bring everything up for you. So you'll see exactly what's going on all of that. So that's pretty cool. I do like this. I like that it's working now. I wasn't able to get it working the first couple of days. I had to reset my monitor. I had to like reset it to like the factory, and then it started working again, because when I had tried it over here on my littler monitor and it worked just fine, and I was like, wait a minute. So I was checking the settings on there, and then I came back to this one and I noticed one of them was grayed out, but it wouldn't let me move it or touch it or do anything. So I just reset it, and everything came back and it was working just fine. So we're gonna go into gaming again. This here is like the overall. Like you can like click on these games. You can bring up the global experience. You can get in here and you can set everything up in here. Like this is really easy. Some games are gonna have it. Some games you can just have the whole global thing set on HyperRX. HyperRX is gonna give you like the anti-lag plus, all of those extra things that are going to make the experience even better for you. so that you can so that you can enjoy fluid motion frames. Like, I do think this technology is actually pretty freaking solid. Once you get in there and you start utilizing it and you start playing around with it and you start setting different parameters, maybe turning up sharpening, maybe turning down sharpening, some of those types of things, it definitely enhances the overall experience for you in some ways. But in some ways you might not, like some of the things that it does. But I have noticed the more you play around with it and the higher you get your frames, it gets rid of the one thing that I was noticing the most is like the camera judder. When you turn and you're looking at like a fixed position, you'll kind of see it like shutter or whatever, or judder. Once you've gotten that kind of thing cleared out, it works just fine. Now, I want to touch on this between 1440p monitor and 4K OLED. The 4K OLED tops out at 120 frames a second. My monitor tops out at 165 frames a second. For some reason, due to the fact that OLED has like an instant response time for the pixel, and the monitor is just a little bit more laggy, not like super laggy, but a little bit more laggy in that, the judder and overall VRR representation, or just that smoothness, you don't notice as many micro stutters as you do like on a 4K TV. On the 4K OLED, you'll notice the micro stutters. You'll notice the little bit of juddering, even a little bit more. There's other things that you're going to notice on like a 4K OLED that you're not going to notice on a monitor, at least in my experience. My monitors are the LG Ultra Gear 1440p. I mean, there's a link in the description for the monitors that I have. So the overall experience for me on the monitor using AMD's fluid motion frames has been significantly better than using it on the 4K OLED. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to have 4K OLED. You're going to have your PC hooked up to your TV, and you're going to be like wondering like, oh man, this is garbage. Just know that there's kind of a side effect, due to the OLED technology, I believe, and maybe just not having the maybe not having the signal going through like a display port, or it's going through the HDMI. Maybe your HDMI cable's not giving you a good proper handshake. There's so many different variables when you get to that point that like, yeah. But I will tell you that having the frames a little bit higher, because you're gonna push over the 120. You're gonna want to try to get as close to your screen refresh rate as possible, so that you don't need things like VRR or FreeSync or any of that. If you're locked at your frame rate at your screen rate, you're not going to notice any of those problems. But you are going to notice like the screen tearing and the other stuff on a 4K OLED, on a 4K TV. That's probably where you're going to see the most of it. But if you're on a 4K monitor, you'll probably be getting a similar experience to what I'm getting. You know what I mean? Like on my 1440p monitors, I'm not getting that intrusive like screen tearing or lag or any of that kind of stuff. It just kind of looks and feels a lot smoother. So I personally, after like last weekend and this week and being able to play multiple games, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Mirage using this. I utilized it with Forza Motorsport that just came out. I don't know, man. Like, I like it. I think it's pretty good. I think that this has the benefit to. I think that this has the potential to benefit gamers that are running lower hardware, that are just wanting a more stable single player experience. I do still stand by it works better with a controller. It does. You don't feel like there's much lag as you do when you bump over to the mouse and keyboard. But it still can be fairly smooth with mouse and keyboard. But I've never been a mouse and keyboard player. I'm probably never going to be a mouse and keyboard player. So I will not ever. I'm not going to be able to fine tune that for you guys to figure out a way to make that a better experience. But when it comes to a controller and playing like open world games and testing out a lot of these games, absolutely incredible. And I do kind of feel like it'd be good for your corridor type games as well. I feel like The Last of Us is going to be perfectly fine on it. Some of these other games will probably be fine, but for me, open world games are probably going to be the ones that I would want that smoothness even more. So, all right, my friends, if you guys like this content and you found it informative, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and definitely we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.